Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how will it be? This is John Duty on Life MAJUU. Today we are going to talk about the UVISA. The UVISA might be one of the easiest ways for you to get the coveted green card. Now, unlike the VAWA, which most of you are familiar with, Violence Against Women Act, VAWA is only limited for those women who've been battered, who've been abused by their significant others. And mostly, those women are inside the United States. But with the UVISA, it covers people who are inside and outside the United States. That means if you're watching this and you're not even in the United States, this could be your gateway to the coveted permanent residency. Now, what's the UVISA? The UVISA primarily covers criminal activities that are against the US laws that, when reported, the petitioner or the person who reported is willing to aid in the investigation, to aid security or police or the investigators in the investigation of the crime. That's the only catch. If you are the petitioner and you have suffered these criminal activities that are against the US laws, the only thing that the government, the US government wants from you is to aid them, assist them in investigating these crimes. Now, there's a long list of the crimes that qualify, for you to be able to apply for the UVISA. But if we may narrow down a little bit, kidogo too, every year there are 10,000 visas set aside for the UVISA for all those individuals inside and outside the United States to apply for the UVISA. Now, why do I say that this is one of the easiest ways for you to apply for the green card? Keep in mind the UVISA is temporary. Basically, it allows you to enter the United States legally or just be in status, and then now you can pursue the permanent residency. There's a catch. If there are difficulties, there are waiver, but we will talk about those issues later on. I want us to tackle on what are the qualifying criminal activities, and the reason why, in my view, I feel this is an easy way for you to get the permanent residency is because the criminal activities that are captured in the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services are things that happen to people every day, but sometimes we tend to ignore them, and sometimes we think that's the norm. I have friends, colleagues, people I know from back home who have been mistreated here in the States by their significant others, and they cannot talk about it. They cannot even tell the world about it because they are afraid of being kicked out, of being returned back home because they do not have the necessary paperwork to live and work in the United States. This is actually wrong, and because of those nefarious acts, you can apply for the UVISA. If you are a woman, you can apply for VAWA. Stalking. How many people have been stalked by their exes or significant others? How many people have their smartphones tracked or their cars tracked? Someone is following you around, someone is stalking you. You cannot breathe in peace or walk around in the park in peace because someone is following you around, is harassing you. Someone is not giving you peace of mind. Number one, file a police report. And these criminal acts, if I may add, they have to have caused physical or mental disturbances. You have to show or prove that you have suffered mentally or physically because of these criminal activities. Before I go or proceed any further, I'd like to add that I am not an attorney, I am not an immigration lawyer, and I do not represent the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. This information can be found on the USCIS website, and actually some of the criminal activities, qualifying criminal activities that I will mention here today, the list is not conclusive. Now, domestic violence. We all know of stories of people men and women who suffer domestic violence at home. And sometimes in worst case scenarios, some people who suffer criminal or domestic violence at home are out of status, do not have the necessary paperwork to live and work in the United States. And sometimes people might keep quiet because they do not know where to run to. Number one, my friend, keep it documented. If it's not written down, it never happened. Document your experiences, document that violence. Let the police or the authorities have that on paper. And then later on, you can produce that as evidence. If you are suffering you have mental issues because of that violence, make sure you see a doctor, see someone and speak to someone. You never know how that medical paperwork will help you along the way. Another popular one, and especially where I come from, in most African communities, female genital mutilation is very popular. It might seem like a norm, but it's not. Now, someone asked me, what's the difference between UVISA, VAWA, and Asylum? Asylum, we will talk about that later on again on a separate video, but most people might opt to seek for asylum because they are facing FGM or female genital mutilation in their communities and they want to run away. Now, in my view, asylum is a very long and lonely process. I can assure you that the process is not meant to give you a walk in the park inside the United States. No, it's a very lengthy and long process, and it's understandably because even the word asylum, the way it means that you are running away from something that is of grave danger and you can never return. That's the main problem. So asylum, in my view, takes longer, but the U visa, as long as you have substantial evidence, FGM is a qualifying criminal activities, and it goes without saying that FGM not only causes physical difficulties, it also causes mental difficulties. You cannot imagine what young women go through when they are mutilated at a very young age. Another criminal activity that is very popular is fraud in foreign labor contracting. I believe that was in my earlier videos, I talked about a scenario where a Kenyan employer, recruited workers from Kenya and then paid them a low wage compared to other companies, basically being paid at a lower wage bill compared to the approved state wage bill. Now, first of all, and this is even popular in the Middle East, there are people or companies who recruit from overseas and they want to pay those people a meager amount, very, very minimal, because they want to save and they want to take advantage of that. In most African countries, most people survive under $2 a day or $3 a day, right? Let's even give or take, let's say $5 a day. And then someone hires you overseas and says to you, you know what, I'll give you $12 a day. Now, in your view, you will feel that that's a lot of money, but it's not. The average wage bill could be $16, $17, or even $18 a day. Fraud in foreign labor contracting is when companies or individuals deceive people from overseas and bring them over here to the States and misuse them, abuse them, and take advantage of them. If you find yourself in that situation, and most employers will threaten you and tell you that we will take your passport. That's very popular in the Middle East. Or we will not renew your visa. They will issue threats so that you can play ball and not even live or talk to anyone. That if you document that and report that, make sure you are suffering mentally. I know how difficult it is. Make sure you see a provider. See a provider and document that process. Murder, that goes without saying. That's a crime. That's a crime, and it causes mental and physical difficulties. So that's definitely a no-go zone. Torture, slave trade, false imprisonment, blackmail. Blackmail is also very popular. You send someone compromising pictures of yourself and later on they want to use that against you. Do not accept. you know, do not accept, report that person, make sure you document it and involve the authorities in, you know, this process. The hostage is still in there. Incest, we know of communities where people, cousins and cousins, engage in sexual activities. That is against the U.S. law, sexual assault. But what's the catch, especially for people who are applying from overseas? If you're applying from the United States, it's very easy. Not just the U visa, any visa. If you are applying for the United States, from inside the United States, it's way much easier compared to outside. Some of the qualifying criminal activities overseas, depending on your country, might be very difficult to prove. And most of the time, you might need an immigration attorney to assist you. Keep in mind that all the fees in foreign consular offices or embassies are charged in dollars. So those are the factors that you have to consider. It's an expensive affair, but it's a free application. You don't pay anything, and the form is called an I-918. That's for petition for you non-immigrant status. And there's another form called I-918, supplement B, petition for you non-immigrant status certification. Using those two forms, I-918 and I-918 supplement B, these forms will now bring you into the game, officially into the draw. What is left for you is to provide information, evidence from the authorities, and evidence from a medical provider. Now, ladies and gentlemen, after you apply, you sit tight and wait, because most of these processes, most of these cases are usually processed in a very shorter period of time because of the gravity of the matter. Do not even be surprised if they have waivers for in some cases where you cannot provide evidence. When you go to the USCIS website, you will see all the waivers or extension, and even how, once you get your U visa, how now you can apply to become a green card holder. Also, you can use this process to apply for someone else. If someone is below the age of 16, their parent can apply for them. If you know a relative who's going through these issues and they're not able to apply, you can apply on their behalf. And once you get your green card, now you can apply for the people who are close to you, your immediate family members. I hope this information was beneficial to you, and I hope you take advantage of the U visa. The U visa, which is the petition for you non-immigrant status, is one of the easiest ways to acquire the coveted green card, and simply because all the qualifying criminal activities that are against the US laws are things that happen on a daily basis. It's just that people are afraid to talk about it. I hope you take advantage of this, and welcome to America.